Folks, before we kick things off, it's intro time.
My name is Dom Douglas, and I am back-to-back XWW Commentator of the Year. With that comes some responsibilities, but also a lot of fun and excitement, and I'm never ashamed to look like a complete fool. Speaking of that, I love playing Magic the Gathering, so much so that I kind of think I play it a little bit too much, and I have some opinions. So now, XtremeTVOnline.com and XWW Wrestling on YouTube presents my podcast where I talk about Magic the Gathering. It's the Goblin Grenade Podcast.
Welcome to the Goblin Grenade Podcast. My name is Dom Douglas, back-to-back XWW Commentator of the Year winner. And once again, we're doing something a little different this time on the podcast. We are doing deck decks. And these three decks are unique in the way that Standard is now 3 years. Wizards is making a push to get Standard a little bit more played. And they're saying it's starting to show some growth. I don't know about that. But as I said, my game store is unique that I go to. They fire a lot of events off on a Friday night. We're talking vintage, legacy almost, modern, pioneer, standard, draft. I'm usually there for draft. They have casual commander. I do both. When I get to the store, I make sure it's like an all-day event for me because I don't get out much more than I need to. But that being said, Wizards want Standard back, and they want to make it in a big way because they realize Standard is usually the gate of entry into Magic the Gathering. Now it's Commander, but for the longest time, Standard is how you got into the game, and then you expanded to the other formats. So these decks have a budget of $10 and under. Why $10 and under? Simple. If you don't like the play pattern, or if you don't like Standard, you're out $10. That is 3 packs of cards, 2 right now with the play boosters. That is less than half of a draft for a fully functioning 60 card main board, 15 card sideboard Magic the Gathering deck. I've been doing these decks for about a year and never posted anything about it because things change, stuff happens. I started up this podcast, the lead up to that kind of took a little bit of time just to game plan things. And now I'm in a comfortable zone where I can not talk about Abandoned Restricted or talk about how Wizards of the Coast and Hasbro have said AI is what we're looking into, even though they said they didn't. Said they weren't. These decks, the prices are from tcgplayer.com. I use TCG Player a lot. They are not sponsoring me in any way, shape, or form. I don't just go for the first listing and say, okay, this card's 5 cents or this card's 2 cents. I look deep and not just like to see the average median. I'm looking for availability of cards. Some stores will have a couple cards, like 2 copies of a card that you need 4 of for 5 cents. And then next time you see 2 copies, they're 15 cents. So I'm going to lean towards the 15 cent barrier cost being a little bit more realistic expectation on what to get. Now, prices may differ in your store. Prices may differ from website to website, like Card Kingdom or Star City Games or Troll Toad. I don't even know if they're existing anymore. But, your local game store may have different prices for the commons. But the key ingredient here, $10 and under, except for the first deck that I show, the Mono Blue Aggro deck in this one. And that was because it was a very unique list. It was a budget for Arena. There's no rares in the deck at all. It's just commons and uncommons. And the deck was so fun to play and so good that I decided to include it. The other 2 decks are brews of my own, or just, coming up with things. The reason why I do like putting the restrictive budget on me is because it makes me think outside of the box. I'm not doing meta. I do play meta decks, obviously. If I'm playing Timeless, I'm playing Red Deck Wins. If I'm playing Standard, I'm playing not actually anything in the meta. I'm too busy playing the budget decks. But, if I was playing the budget, if I was playing Standard decks, it would definitely be Zoo right now. Domain Zoo is actually one of the funnest, archetypes to play, I feel. That's with the ley line of the Guild Pack 5 color domain stuff. And these budget brews actually do have some punching power because they have something that I like to say. Command Quarter says they're focused. These decks are focused. It's not just $10 of the best cards I can find for that price and slam together and pray for the best. No, we have a aggressive blue deck. We have a mono black rats deck, and we have an Azorius detectives deck that all want to do different things within the deck archetypes that they've been built upon, but they want to do focused things. Like, the mono blue tempo wants to punch you in the face as fast as possible. The rats deck wants to flood the board with rats and make them unblockable, or making very hard blocks through means of toxic and or giving things menace. The detectives decks want to poop out clues and use those clues to fuel the fire and pump their detectives up. Simple as that. They're focused. They're synergistic to the point that you sometimes forget that the whole budget is almost the same price as a survey land right now. Also, these decks, the reason why I wanted to come up with $10 budget deck techs is because of one channel, and that's Tolarian Community College. Tolarian Community College, years ago when I got back into the game, did a $5 deck tech for a heroic deck, a white-blue heroic deck when I first started getting back into the game, and I played that deck for a year. I got to upgrade it, I got to build it, I got to have so much fun with it, and it really drew me back into the game, because up until that point when I started getting back, I was getting my butt handed to me, because I didn't know anything about Magic at that point. It had been a good 10 to 15 years since I played. I was lost and confused, still trying to have fun with the game, but not liking all the L's I was taking. And then this deck happened. And I was able to actually start competing and punching up and then trading cards from the prize packs that I got to improve that deck. And by the end of its run, it was actually a solid heroic deck. So I know you don't watch, and I know you don't know me, but Professor of Tolarian Community College, thank you for getting me back into Magic the Gathering. And this is my little tribute, these decks, to you. So we're going to go into the deck techs and the way this is structured, it's a deck tech and then the gameplay. This is obviously an edited episode. I'm not live. Hopefully I remember to be in the comments for this premiere. And on that note, let's take it away. I've been doing these deck techs like this for a while now. And never posted videos up anywhere. As you can see, like every single one of these decks, when I created them, that have the $10 in it, were $10 at the time. If it's got a name or it says a new deck, it's not a $10 budget deck. But basically, I've done Pirates, Zoetoyov, Merfolk $10, Goose Mother $10, Totens with Rats, Food $10, Enchantments is not $10, the Super Friends is not $10. But it's something I like doing to get my brewer's mentality going, because it's easy to do the meta, but it's also hard to do the meta, get a meta deck, find something that you like, and realize that you don't even like standard. So how do I counter this? Well, simple. $10 deck techs. And we're going to do 3 of them right now. The first one, though, is not $10. It's a little bit over. I did not create this one. This one was, I think, from MTG Arena Zone. It was actually MTG Rocks, where it was a 0 rare mono blue aggressive deck. And every now and again, Wizards has gone a little funny and cute and made mono blue tempo, mono blue aggro a thing. And it's always kind of fun when it accidentally happens, or it just kind of happens. And I think this time it happened because Standard's now in a 3-year rotation. Because some of these cards would have, in the old way, would have rotated out. Stuff like High Speed Hover Bike and, Fading Hope and Network Disruptor would have already been out of Standard. Now, this deck is like $12.16. And the thing about my deck techs is, this includes sideboard. 60 card main deck, 15 card sideboard, $10. We can make this under $10 by removing 2 cards and adding 2 cards. And we'll get to that later in the breakdown. But right now, we're just going to show you every card in the set. And we're going to start with Ginger Brute. It's a 1-drop artifact. It's a 1/1 with haste. And you can pay 1 mana of any color, and it can't be blocked this turn except by creatures with haste. But it's also a food artifact. So, for 2 and tap and sack it, you can gain 3 life. At the moment, Ginger Brutes are 20 cents a piece. So we're playing a playset of them. Then we are playing 4 Fading Hopes, which is the most expensive card in the deck and takes most of the budget. It is a 1 blue instant. Return target creature to its owner's hand. If its mana value was 3 or less, scry 1. The defensive and protective capabilities of this card can never be understated. It has been an all-star since its debuted, and basically not only can you bounce a creatures from your opponent's hand, you can protect one of your own if they try to kill it, especially with like Lightning Helix out, and you bounce your Fading Hope, well, their Lightning Helix fizzes now. The reason why this is over $10 is this particular deck, because it's a 0 rare, plays 4 copies, and these are $1.25 a pop, representing $5 worth of cards. But it can't be understated how important this card is to this build. Then we are playing 4 copies of Network Disruptor, which is an artifact creature for a blue. It's a 1/1 flyer, and when it enters the battlefield, tap target permanent. This is a good 1-drop to have on your first turn, or if you need to make way for a blocker to get, you need to get rid of one of their blockers. Network Disruptor is a great card to use that with. And these are going for 10 cents a piece. And then we are playing 4 copies of Spyglass Siren, which is a creature Siren Pirate for 1 blue mana. It's a 1/1 flyer, and when it enters the battlefield, create a map token. Map 1 colorless and tap to sack it. Target creature you control explores, and exploring is reveal the top card of your library. Put that card into your hand if it's a land. Otherwise, put a +1/+1 counter on it. Then you may put that card back or put it into your graveyard. You can only activate a map as a sorcery, meaning you can only do it on your main phase 1 or main phase 2. We play a lot of 1-drops. 12 of our creatures are in the 1-drop slot. Okay. Now in the 2-drop slots, we're playing 2 Machine Over Matters for 1 and a blue and instant. This also costs 1 less to cast if you control an artifact creature, which we kind of have a couple artifact creatures in the deck. Return target non-land permanent to its owner's hand. It's basically could be copies 5 through 8 of Fading Hope. But this card is going for 10 cents as well. We are playing 2 copies of Moonsucker Hacker for 1 and a blue for an enchantment creature Human Ninja. It's a 2/1 with ninjutsu. We'll get to that in a bit. But whenever it deals combat damage to a player, you may draw a card. If you do, discard a card unless Moonsucker Hacker entered the battlefield this turn. Ninjutsu for 1 blue, return an unblocked attacker you control to your hand. Put this card onto the battlefield from your hand, tapped and attacking. So basically you get a 1 or 2 of your 1-drops out, do a quick turn 1, turn 2 attack, and when they don't block because they have nothing, you bring Moonsucker Hacker out, you get to draw a card, and you also get to do an additional point of damage. You can also get into some weird loops with Moonsucker Hacker, and Network Disruptor, because you just keep bouncing the Network Disruptors, or even your Spyglass Sirens, and playing them and getting more map tokens. Moonsucker Hackers are 15 cents a piece. And then in the Artifact Vehicle, for 2 generic mana, we are playing High Speed Hoverbike. It's an artifact vehicle for 2/2 with flying. See a pattern here with this deck. Flying, flash, which means it can be cast at any time. When High Speed Hoverbike enters the battlefield, tap up to 1 target creature. It's got a crew cost of 1. Crew 1, tap any number of other creatures you control with power 1 or more. This vehicle becomes an artifact creature until end of turn. Up until that point, it's just an artifact. So you do have to manually tap one of your creatures to power the hoverbike. And high-speed hoverbikes are going for 15 cents a piece right now. We play 4 copies of Prosperous Thief, 2 in a blue for a Human Ninja creature with ninjutsu, 1 in a blue. For a 3/2 creature, whenever 1 or more ninja or rogue creatures you control deal combat damage to a player, create a treasure token. We play a couple ninjas and I think a rogue. I don't think we play a rogue. Yeah, Network Disruptor is a rogue, so it does activate Prosperous Thief as well. But also, for 1 in a blue, if you got a creature that's not been blocked, you can bring Prosperous Thief into play. And that does trigger on its own attack when it deals combat damage to a player. Prosperous Thieves are going for a quarter a piece, and we play 4 of them. The card that confused the other 11 crap out of me when I saw it in the list, and then in play realized, oh, this put some work in. Unctus's Retrofitter for 2 and a blue, creature Phyrexian Artificer for a 2/3 with Toxic 1. Whenever a creature dealt combat damage by a creature with Toxic, gets a poison counter on top equal to its toxic value. So if Unctus Retrofitter ever hits for combat, it deals 1 poison damage to a player, and if you get 10 poison or more, you automatically lose the game. We're not doing that here. It's more the paragraph below it that we care about. When Unctus's Retrofitter enters the battlefield, up to 1 target artifact you control becomes an artifact creature with base power and toughness of 4/4 for as long as Unctus's Retrofitter remains on the battlefield. We make plenty of treasure, we make plenty of clues. This does power up your Ginger Brute and your high-speed hover bike as well, which is the bigger target that you want to hit with this. Or a network disruptor, because it is an artifact. Any artifact. So that does count creatures as well. Unctus's Retrofitters are going for 2 cents a piece. And then finally, we play 4 copies of Zotaic Glyph for 2 and a blue for an enchantment aura. Enchanted artifact is a golem creature with base power and toughness 5/4 in addition to its other types. When it is put into the graveyard from the battlefield, discover 3. Discover 3 is exile cards from the top of your library until you exile a non-land card with mana value 3 or less. You may cast it without paying its mana cost, or put it into your hand. Put the rest on the bottom of your library in any order. Zotaic Glyph, with the way this deck is built, hits everything. It'll hit everything in the deck, because it's 3 or less. We don't play anything above a 3 drop. And Zotaic Glyphs are going for 15 cents a piece. And this can hit, once again, hover bikes, Ginger Brood, network disruptors, even, what is the other artifact in here? It can hit your treasures, it can hit your maps, it can hit pretty much everything in the deck. We play 18 islands in the main and 2 roadside reliquaries. Tap to add a generic mana to your mana pool, or 2 and tap it to sacrifice it. Draw a card if you control an artifact. Draw a card if you control an enchantment. And roadside reliquaries are 18 cents a piece, and we play 2 of them. So in the main board, we're playing a very focused mono blue tempo deck, where we want to be the aggressor from the gate. Now in the sideboard. Mind you, the main deck costs $10.32, and $5 of that is Fading Hope. In the sideboard, we play 3 Spell Pierces for 1 blue and instant, counter target non-creature spell unless its controller pays 2. We have, these budget builds, you have to get a little creative with the counter spells that you use, and Spell Pierce is perfect for what we want to do. They do go for 20 cents a piece. We play 4 copies of Disdainful Stroke for 1 and a blue and instant, counter target spell with mana value 4 or greater. This is Wandering Emperor and Shielded Hate, and any of the big creature spells that your opponent has in their alley. If you know they're playing mono black, bring in your Disdainful Strokes. If you know they're playing anything like Vein Rippers and whatnot, bring in your Disdainful Strokes. They go for 5 cents a piece. We do play 2 copies of Negate in the sideboard, counter target non-creature spell for 1 and a blue and an instant. And Negates are going for $0.25 a piece right now, and that's the cheapest ones I can find. And that's just because there's a lot of non-creature spell shenanigans going on in standard right now. We do play 4 copies of Cradle of Safety. It's 1 and a blue for an enchantment aura with flash. Enchant creature you control. Whenever Cradle of Safety enters the battlefield, enchanted creature gains hexproof until end of turn. Enchanted creature gets +1/+1. This is mainly for like a lot of creature removal decks. I know there's a couple mono black decks that play 4 copies of 1 creature and everything else is removal and destruction, that type of stuff. So Cradle of Safety at least buys us a turn and maybe gets us an extra point of damage in, and they are going for a penny a piece. And then finally, we're playing 2 copies of Eaten by Piranhas, which is 1 and a blue for an enchantment aura. Flash. Enchant creature. Enchanted creature loses all abilities and is a black skeleton creature at base power and toughness of 1/1. It loses all other card types and all other creature types. Once again, there's a lot of creatures in standard that affect the board just by having an ability on the card. This shuts it down completely. And Eaten by Piranhas is 25 cents a piece. with these budget builds, you have to get a little bit creative on your sideboarding, on your main boards. You have to get very inventive with some of the cards that you have to use. The thing I said, this deck with the sideboard included would set you back $12.16. And I've been playing it. And let me tell you, game one, this is a true game one standard deck where it steamrolls your opponent and they don't know what hit them. So the game two, that they have to sideboard in a bunch of stuff and kind of mess up their flow in ways that they weren't anticipating, because no one really is expecting a mono blue aggro deck at them across the table. The way to get this under $10, which was the easiest way I discovered, and we will go into this, you take out 2 of the Fading Hopes. Okay, we take out 2 of the Fading Hopes. That is the most expensive card in the deck by far. We replace them with 2 Brackish Blunders, and I'll show you what that card does right now. Brackish Blunder is 1 in a blue for an instant. Return target creature to its owner's hand. If it was tapped, create a map token. Brackish Blunders are a penny right now. And the reason why I took two Fading Hopes out, it's the most expensive card, but also Brackish Blunder kind of does the same thing, but also kind of a theme. If it's tapped, we get to create a map token as well. It does cost 1 more mana, but, you know, we do like to play with artifacts in this deck. And that is not for me, but from, I think, MTG Arena Zone. I could be wrong. If I am, I apologize. The mono blue aggro deck that was labeled as no rare mono blue. Now we're going to get to the games real quick. And these decks, once again, $10 or below, except for this one. This one's $12, but Fading Hope is just such an important card that I can't get rid of it. That being said, we got to turn 1 with the Spyglass, a turn 2, and maybe, well, we actually have a Gingerbrute, so we're going to keep. We are on the draw. This is best 2 of 3, like a normal standard game would. There's our Fading Hope. So I think we just Gingerbrute. And my favorite part about this is their Rafine's Tower is almost as expensive as our whole deck. So they are definitely playing some 4-color stuff. Tithing Blade. Each opponent sacks a creature. Okay. Just gonna Spyglass Siren. Make a map. And next turn. Now, if they try to play another Tithing Blade or target or Spyglass, I can Fading Hope it. I'd rather not, though, because I really would like Prosperous Thief to get in unblocked. Because Spyglass attack with the Siren. Now there's an Evolving Wild, probably to find their 5th land. So they're definitely on the domain.deck. What? So they Virtued of Knowledge the Evolving Wilds to get 2 lands. That's sick. That is sick. Yeah, I'm cool with this. I am 100% cool with this. Because we're going to attack for Spyglass. And then we are going to Ninjutsu in the Thief, bringing back the Spyglass. Getting in for 3. We get to create a treasure. I'm going to bring in the Spyglass Siren again, because we do have 1 available mana for a Fading Hope. So they're doing multiple trigger abilities here, so we probably have to be definitely on the beatdown plan. So I say, the best play, we're going to attack. Hoverbike has Flash. We did just pick up a Zotaic Glyph, but I think we need to machine over matter the Virtue of Knowledge. Because they have some shenanigans that they want to do. And we can Hoverbike next turn. At the end of our turn. Archangel of Wrath. Now, they kicked it twice. Deals 2 damage to any target. I think I'm going to Fading Hope the Thief. And then I think... I hate to do this, but I have to do this. I have to Machine Over Matter our own thing so their Archangel doesn't gain life. Gonna high speed hover bike. Tap this down. We're gonna Spyglass. Create a map. And hope that we can survive. But I think Archangel of Wrath kind of ruins us because it does have lifelink. So it's standing up to this deck, which is good, but I know for a fact that we have lost. Leyline's Binding. I think I have seen enough. Yeah, I've seen enough. Alright, so they're Leylining, Virtuing. So. I think we gotta be faster, so I think we take the 4 Zotaic Glyphs out. For 2 negates, 2 disdainful strokes. I also think get rid of an Unctus. We get rid of 2 Unctuses for 2 disdainful strokes. And that'll give us at least the ability to counter their spells. Because now we can counter their Archangel, we can counter their non-creature stuff, which is the Virtue, which doesn't go into an adventure if it gets countered. We will play first because we are the aggressive deck. There we go. Didn't get anything good from us. We're going to Gingerbread it. Get in for that 1 point of damage and see if they kill it on turn 2. They're starting again. Alright, so... I think we're going to Gingerbread. I think we Prosperous Thief, bringing back the Gingerbread. Then we're going to use that treasure to bring in Gingerbread. Because if they have Tithing Blade, we can just kill the Gingerbread. They do not. So I think we're going to Spyglass Siren here. Make a map. Swing in and not ninjutsu, hold up mana, and then end the turn. Because if they target something of ours, I'll just bounce it back with Machine Over Matter. I think we just go into attacks again. Let's see what they want to target with the Binding. Interesting interaction about to happen. They haven't gone into blocks yet. So now we can P-Thief the Spyglass Siren. Make a treasure, and we have another Machine Over Matter at the ready. Depopulate. What do I want to do? Do I want to Machine Matter the P-Thief? Or the Gingerbread? I'm cool with that. I'm cool with that. Because we do have a map. Now they're getting into their slow version. So I think we just Spyglass Siren. We're gonna crack and see if we get a negate, which is perfect. Wish we could draw it now, though. Wish we could draw that negate now. If they Leyline Binding, Spelunking. Generally, they don't play a cave. They don't play caves. So they don't gain the 4 life. Okay. Okay, so we get the negate. So they have interaction. I'm just going to let the 2 damage go through if they don't do anything. All right. And I'm cool sitting tight. Cool sitting tight. We got negate in hand. And then we can bounce back their spyglass, or we can bounce back our spyglass if need be. Now, if they do that trick again, this is where negate's going to come in. But they didn't. They now have Leyline Binding. But we have negate. Elvish Norn doesn't have reach. It doesn't have reach. Interesting. So, it doesn't have reach. It doesn't have lifelink either. So, I think we're just going to bingo bango. Do that, and then we could... Yeah, I'm going to machine over matter the Elvish Norn. And basically undo their turn. So now if they want to bring back the Elvish Norn, Archangel of Wrath. So they're just doing 2 to us. 2 to that. We had no interaction for that. And once again, Archangel of Wrath is there, so we're dead. So we are 1,000% dead. So good games. Good games. But yeah, you can see how much of a fight this deck does put up. And the second deck up on this deck tech, $10 and under deck tech, is an invention that I had. Not so much an invention, a brew that I had when kind of like March of Machines and Wilds of Eldraine came out. Woe and Mom came out, and Phyrexial V1 kind of gave a little birth to the rat subtype. This is $10 rats. We are nothing but rats. As you can tell, we play 26 rats, 2 others, and the warlocks are the Twisted Sewer Witches, but we'll get to that in a bit. This deck wants to just get more rats out as possible. One of our game enders is Twisted Sewer Witch, which does apply a roll token, the wicked roll to it, and the other sometimes we do win by poison. That's a third win con, and then the second, the more important win con is just flooding the board with creatures and just killing our opponent down to 0. First things first, 4 copies of the rest. We are a mono black deck, and this is a 1 black for a sorcery. Target opponent reveals their hand. You choose a non-creature, non-land card from it. That player discards that card. Duress is always an amazing card in these micro brews, because in these budget brews, because it is a $10 card. I mean, a 10-cent card. And it does a lot. It does reveal your opponent's hand. Even if you miss, you know what they have. So you can play around with it, and getting perfect almost information is an advantage that not many people think of in the early games, early on getting into standard. Then we are playing 4 Gnawing Vermin for 1 black for a 1/1 creature rat. When it enters the battlefield, target player mills 2 cards. We always target our opponent. We're not a mill deck, but if this comes out on turn 1, we kind of get a feeling of what they have, because we get the, put the top 2 cards in our library in the graveyard. And then when it dies, target creature you don't control gets -1/-1 until end of turn. This is a low-key great blocker in the sense that it can trade with 2/2s. It can trade with a 1/1. If they have a field of 1/1s, we can take 2 of them out with 1 Gnawing Vermin. That card is also 10 cents, and it's an all-star in these budget builds. Then 4 copies of Rat Out. A 1 black instant, up to 1 target creature gets -1/-1 until end of turn, and you create a 1/1 black rat creature token with this creature can't block. Rat Out is basically Gnawing Vermin's 5 through 8, but with the added bonus of maybe getting rid of a creature and trading it in combat with a Gnawing Vermin. Or if they just put a 1/1 out, we can immediately respond with a Rat Out and get a creature of our own into play. Rat Outs are going for 5 cents a piece. Then we play 4 copies of Blight Belly Rat. For 1 and a black, it has Toxic 1. A player dealt combat damage by a creature with Toxic also gets a poison counter equal to that creature's Toxic value. If you happen to get your opponent with 10 or more poison counters at any one time, they automatically lose the game. It's a 2/2, and when it dies, we get to proliferate. Choose any number of permanents and/or players, then give each another counter of each kind they already have. So if they have a +1/+1 counter, or a flying counter, or an indestructible counter, but mainly poison counters, and giving our opponent another poison counter. Blight Belly Rats are 20 cents a piece. One of our best pieces of removal, Candy Grapple. It's a 1 and a black for an instant with Bargain. Bargain, you may sacrifice an artifact, enchantment, or token as you cast this spell. We create a bunch of tokens and enchantments as well, but mainly target creature gets -3/-3 until end of turn. If that spell was bargained, that creature gets -5/-5 until end of turn. This is one of our key powerful pieces of removal, and it is going for 4 cents a piece. We play 2 copies of Nezumi Prowler. It's 1 and a black, artifact creature rat ninja. It's a 3/1 with ninjutsu 1 and a black. Return ninjutsu 1 and a black. Return an unblocked attacker you control to your hand. Put this card onto the battlefield from your hand, tapped and attacking. It replaces the unblocked creature and gets in for its own, but when it comes into the battlefield, a target creature we control gains Death Touch and Lifelink until end of turn. So if they try to chump block one of our 1/1s with their big 5/5, we can Nezumi Prowler the one creature that didn't get blocked, and basically trade off a 1/1 for a 5/5 and gain a life too, on top of getting rid of their 5/5 because it does have a Death Touch. Any amount of damage a source a creature with Death Touch deals to another creature destroys it. And it's also got Lifelink. We gain life equal to how much damage that creature did. Nezumi Prowlers are 25 cents a piece. We play 3 Tangled Colonies. Tangled Colony is a 1 and a black for a rat creature. It's a 3/2. It can't block, but when it dies, create X 1/1 black rat creature tokens with this creature can't block, where X is the amount of damage dealt to it this turn. Nobody, and I repeat, nobody likes to block a Tangled Colony, because if it dies, even if they hit it with a 2/2, we're getting 2 rats in return. Tangled Colonies go for 30 cents a piece. We play 2 copies of Lord Skitter's Sewer King. It's a 2 and a black for a legendary creature, Rat Noble. It's a 3/3. Whenever another rat enters the battlefield under our control, exile up to 1 target card from an opponent's graveyard. At the beginning of combat on your turn, create a 1/1 black rat creature token with this creature can't block. It's not so much the graveyard hate, it's the fact that at the beginning of combat, we get to make another rat token. So Lord Skitter does do some work in this deck, but we only play 2 of them because Lord Skitter is $1.30 at the moment. On top of that, we play 4 copies of Lord Skitter's Butcher. For 2 and a black, this is our 3-drop slots. For a rat peasant, it's a 2/3. When it enters the battlefield, choose one. It's got a modal thing where we have 3 options. We get to choose one of them. Create a 1/1 black rat creature token with this creature can't block. You may sacrifice another creature. If you do, scry 2, then draw a card. Or creatures you control gain menace until end of turn. Normally, it's always the 3rd option. Creatures you control gain menace until end of turn. We basically get free combat damage when a Lord Skitter's Butcher comes out using the 3rd option. Lord Skitter's Butchers are going for 5 cents a piece. We play 4 Vorkaria's Vermins for 2 and a black for a creature rat. It's a 2/1. When it enters the battlefield, create a 1/1 black rat creature token with this creature can't block, and when another creature we control dies, put a +1/+1 counter on Vorkaria's Vermin. It basically, for 3 mana, we get 2 creatures, 3 power, 2 toughness. It's almost the same as a Lord Skitter's Butcher, but spread out over 2 bodies. But with an added bonus that whenever a creature dies that we control, we get to make it a little bit stronger. Lord Skitter, Vorkaria's Vermins are going for 10 cents a piece. Now the kingpin lynch piece to the deck, I feel. Karmanox the Rat King. For 1 and 2 black, we get a 3/3 Phyrexian rat with Toxic 1. Other rats we control have Toxic 1. Whenever Karmanox enters the battlefield, look at the top 5 cards of our library. You may reveal any number of rat cards from among them and put the revealed cards into your hand. Put the rest on the bottom in a random order. this is our card draw. Black generally doesn't get card draw without having to sacrifice creatures and whatnot. Mind you, we only play 3 of them, but this is enough to fill our hand with hopefully 2 to 3 more rats. Because as you can tell, and as you can see, we play a lot of rats in this deck. Right now, Karmanox is going for 70 cents a piece. It's one of the most, it's the second most expensive money pit, if you will, into the deck, next to the Lord Skitter. But these two in conjunction are just too good to pass up. And basically, it definitely makes the deck what it is. And then our surprising twist card, Twisted Sewer Witch. For 3 black, we're only playing 2 of them for a human warlock, which is a 3/4. When it enters the battlefield, we get to create a 1/1 rat creature token with, once again, this creature can't block. And then for each rat we control, create a wicked token attached to that rat. Wicked tokens are a token enchantment or a roll, meaning it can only go on a creature. Enchant creature, that creature gets +1/+1, and when its aura is put into the graveyard from the battlefield, each opponent loses 1 life. So many games end by the time we get Sewer Witch out because we make blocks just not good for our opponent. They're either taking a lot of damage or they're dying because they kill our creatures and they're slowly getting pinged away for 1 each every time a creature dies with a wicked roll on it. The Twisted Sewer Witches are going for a penny. So for 2 cents, we get 2 cards that are game enders, if you will, with this right build of a rat deck. And our mana base is simple, 20 swamps, nothing else. In the sideboard, we play 4 copies of Incriminate, which is for 1 and a black, sorcery. Choose 2 target creatures controlled by the same player. That player sacrifices 1 of them. Now, that being, once again, we are in a $10 and under budget. We have to get a little creative with our removal pieces, and Incriminate is one of the pieces that is very cheap at 5 cents a piece. All the other removals that I've tried to experiment with, except for Candy Grapple, kind of take us out of budget. So we have to get a little bit inventive. My favorite is 4 copies of Parasitic Grasp for 1 and a black. It's got cleave, 1 black. You may cast a spell for its cleave cost. If you do, remove the words in square brackets. Parasitic Grasp deals 3 damage to target human creature. You gain 3 life. So if you pay 1 and a black for it, Parasitic Grasp deals 3 damage to a target human creature. You gain 3 life. That's removal for our opponent. But we're playing mono black, and if we wait 1 more turn and cast it for its cleave cost, it deals 3 damage to target creature, we gain 3 life. This is black's version, if you will, a weird version of Lightning Helix, where we're dealing 3 damage to a creature, removing it, but we're gaining 3 life. 4 copies for mainly mono red decks, because they tend to wreck our shop, and also soldier decks as well. And Parasitic Grasps are going for 15 cents a piece. We play 3 copies of Gruesome Realization. 1 black for a sorcery. We choose 1. Draw 2 cards, lose 2 life. Or creatures your opponent controls get -1/-1 till end of turn. 3 copies are in there for token decks, weenie decks, -1/1 creature decks. And basically there's a board wipe for our opponent, because it only targets their creatures. If you're playing a 1/1 token deck or a 1/1 soldier deck and whatnot, we can get rid of a lot of their creatures with this particular card. And then finally, Gruesome Realizations are also going for 5 cents a piece. And then finally, we play 4 copies of Extinguished Light. For 2 black, destroy target creature or planeswalker. If its mana value was 3 or less, we gain 3 life. We don't have any good planeswalker removal. We don't have any real good big creature removal. Extinguish the Light is it, and we have to play 4 copies of it because sometimes it's not just a world of Shiradids and Wandering Emperors anymore. It is dinosaurs and big stompy things, and we have to figure out a different way to get around to getting rid of those creatures, and Extinguish the Light is perfect for that, especially being at a 2-cent budget, and we're playing 4 copies of them. This deck now is $9.75. It used to be $8.19, but then I was like, I have $1 of budget, so I cut a Nuzumi Prowler and added in 1 more Karmanox, and that has just made the deck fire off like you wouldn't believe. Speaking of which, we're actually going to go into a game and see how this deck operates. In Best of 3, to show you what it can do in a almost FNM like setting. Remember Friday Night Magic, which is now starting to have standard again. They're popping it off. It's best 2 out of 3. You play 3 to 4 rounds usually. That's why we're doing best of. Now here's the thing about this. It is a 1-lander. But we technically have 2 creatures. We just have to wait. We do go first. So we get the swamp into the duress. Now we get to see what they... What is it with all these 5-color... What is it with all these 5-color decks? I don't know if we're going to win this one. But we are going to Gnawing Vermin. Their top 2. And we hit a Guild Pack and a Leyline. They're big mad. Because now they only have... Firebrand. So I think we just rat out the Firebrand now. Make a rat and hope for... You know, we were hoping for the 3rd land there, but you know. Hoping for land number 3, but that's okay. We still had a turn 2. For Stani. Okay. I think we Lord Skitter here and show you why Menaches is the way to go. Now we have a blocker for Tristani. Case of the Shattered, which is a good card with Leyline of the Guild Pack. Said no one ever. It's actually a fun interaction. Death Touch, Vigilance, Double Strike, Fleetfoot Dancer. So we are going to block with our Butcher. And hope. Alright, well, we're going to get Vicarious Vermin out. We're just going to attack. And just have... It's got Lifelink. See, Lifelink kills us, and we don't have a way to stop it. With what we currently had in deck. That being said, if we were on curve, we could hit a Twisted Sewer Witch. But what does Ixalan turn into? A 4/3 Trample. So they're at 12 life. Candy Grapple. At instant speed. So I think that's what we do. We see what they want to block. We see what they want to block. So they block the Vermin. Okay. Now, we're going to Candy Grapple, bargaining it, to get rid of this Lifelinker. And we're going to kill one of our... Just to do it. We could still be dead with the double striking Tristani stuff, but I think getting rid of the lifelink was a little bit more important. We could still be dead anyway.
I fight for every plane.
Alright, so
Buy us more time.
we get 1 more point of damage. We're good. We get 1 more point of damage on the board. I think we're good. That is not it. Vermin gets us a rat that can't block. I think we're just going to go after them and see what they do. See if they block with the farmland. Don't do that. And we don't have enough. So we're going to go to game 2. We just didn't draw any of our lands. That's the problem. All right, so I think we get rid of 2 Sewer Witches, which is one of her win cons. Because I want to bring an Extinguish to kill some things. We can get rid of the Nuzumi Prowlers. Yeah, we'll just take out 2 Prowlers, two of the Sewer Witches, and put in 4 Extinguishes and hope that's the best. We will play first. I like the fact that we have a turn 2 and a turn 3 and a Karmanox, which will refill our hand. Once again, their land is... That ley line is more expensive than this entire deck. And the fact that it does have some punching weight. Like, these decks have punching weight. You're not going to... you're not going to win a Pro Tour with these things. But what you will do is actually have a competitive deck. And we're going to pick that and that for our 2 cards. Now we have the Toxic train going because Karmanox also gives Toxic 1 to a creature that already has Toxic 1. So it has 2 cases of Toxic 1. And we're a Green Widow. We can extinguish the light, gain 3 life. Swing in. That should give him 5 now. We have another Extinguish the Light for whatever. Case of the Shatter Pack. I love it, hopefully. If we get the Toxic win, which is rare with this Rat deck because it's not built for Toxic. Firebrand. I do like extinguishing the light of the Firebrand. Bringing in the Vermin. Getting your top 2, which was a Leyline and that Lifelinker. But now they're up to 8 poison, and if they can't get rid of the Blightbelly Rat or the Karmanox, I think they're dead. Fleetfoot Dancer. Alright. I think we double Colony here. Oh wait, what am I doing? I think we win. I think we just straight up win. Yeah, we straight up won. Because poison would have happened. So we got the rare elusive poison win with the Rat deck, which is something it's not built for. I like what we were doing, so I'm just going to keep the 60 and see what happens. This Rat deck can secretly win with Toxic, which is always funny to me with this Rat deck, because no one's expecting it. That is definitely not a keep. That's a little bit better. We will get rid of a Blightbelly because I like the removal. And we do have Duress in hand. They start with the Ley Line. We're dead. So if you don't know what Ley Line of the Guild Pack does, if it's in your opening hand, you begin with on the battlefield. Each non-land permanent you control is all colors, and all your lands tap for all colors. So the best we can do is Duress them for their case. I do like this weird zoo type of build with the Ley Line. But they have nothing yet, so let's double it up on the Duress. And now we know that we're probably going to die. Because Brawler's coming out. Oh, don't you give me the yawning. I'm playing 4 copies of Duress. 4 copies of Duress and a Candy Grapple. Doing my best here. You're going to win anyway, Thought Lash. And I think that's the backbreaker right there for us. Unless they mill 3.
Must not forget the mission.
They put a land into play. What's the +1? 3/3 hexproof. It's still a land. I think we just got to put Blightbelly Rat in and end the turn. Now they have the Baloth. They're going to gain 4 life, and that's GG's. Hexproof.
And fight.
It's got hexproof, so there's no need in blocking it. Now we're in the game. Now we're in the game, folks. Because now we can Karma Nox, but I think we got to extinguish the Ren.
Suffering is everywhere.
And block the 4/4. Never mind, there's the Dancer. We're dead again. Alright, so we're dead. And nothing we could really do about that, but this deck really cooked in the second game. Yeah, we're gonna give the we're gonna give the face down because we have gone against our second domain deck, domain zoo, if you will, in these videos. It's a good deck. Domain Zoo is stupidly good, but you can see the rat deck kind of like went toe for toe a little bit. It's just the lifelink. That's the biggest problem, but what do you expect for a budget of $10? And the final deck that we're going to be going over today is $10 Detectives. This is a standard deck using detectives, and because some of the cards have recently dropped in price, when I first made this deck, like about a month and a half ago, Ezrams were not as cheap as they are now, so I did do a refocus on the deck, and I think I got it to a pretty good state. We're just doing detectives, and this is probably the most friendly deck because this will be almost every single piece in this deck will be viable for 3 years. Next, it's the latest set to come out, and I'm using every single card in the deck except for the idyllic beachfronts are from Karlov at Murder's Manor. Murder at Karlov's Manor. We're going to start with 2 Case of the Uneaten Feasts. These are cases. Whenever a creature enters the battlefield under our control, we gain a life. It's for 1 white mana, and then to solve this case, we need to have gained 5 or more life this turn. Probably not going to happen, but it is good for the recurring life gain that this deck will provide because we do play a lot of creatures. And if it's unsolved, you solve at the beginning of your end step. So at the beginning of your end step, the game state checks to see if you gained 5 life that turn. If you do, this case immediately gets solved, and you can use whatever abilities that the case gives you. This one, in particular, when it's solved, sacrifice this case. Creatures in your graveyard gain. You may cast this card from your graveyard until end of turn. So it's a cheeky little way of getting graveyard recursion in. And Case of the Uneaten Feasts are going for 80 cents a piece right now, and we do play 2 copies. I disagree with this card existing. It should have just been Thraben Inspector. They should have just reprinted Thraben Inspector. There's no need to add 4 more Thraben Inspectors to certain formats. But here we are with Novice Inspector for 1 white for a 1/2 human detective creature, and when it enters the battlefield, investigate. Investigating is make a clue, and a clue is basically an artifact token with 2 and pay 2 and sacrifice this artifact to draw a card. We play 4 copies of Novice Inspector, and they are 40 cents a piece. We play 4 Mistway Spies for 1 blue mana for a 1/1 flying merfolk detective that also has Disguise 1 and a blue. Disguise is you may cast this card face down for 3 mana as a 2/2 creature with Ward 2. Ward 2 is any spell that targets that creature an opponent controls. Any spell an opponent controls that targets that particular creature has to pay 2 more mana for it to go through. You can turn it up at any time for its disguised cost. When it's turned face up until end of turn, whenever a creature you control deals combat damage to a player, investigate. Which, once again, we just basically make a bunch of clues off this. We do use the disguise mechanic on this Mistway Spy a little bit more than you would think. These are 4 cents a piece, though, and we do play a whole play set of 4. Then we play Case of the Pilfered Proof. It's a case of enchantment for 1 and a white. When a detective enters the battlefield under your control, and whenever a detective you control is turned face up, put a +1/+1 counter on it. To solve, we need 3 or more detectives. Once again, at the beginning of our end step, it's going to check to see if we have 3 detectives, and then it becomes solved. And once it's solved, if 1 or more tokens would be created under our control, those tokens plus a clue token are created instead. So if we make 2 1/1s, we get 2 1/1s plus a clue. And Case of the Pilfered Proof are 3 cents a piece right now. We are playing 4 copies of Perimeter Enforcer for 1 and a white, Human Detective 1/1 with Flying and Lifelink. Flying creature can't be blocked except by other creatures with reach or flying. And lifelink, we gain damage. We gain life equal to the amount of damage it deals to creatures and or players. Whenever another detective enters the battlefield under our control, and whenever a detective we control is turned face up, Perimeter Enforcer gets +1/+1 until end of turn. The damage and the life swings add up quick, especially if we have a Case of the Uneaten Feast on the field. It's one of the few ways we actually get to turn Case of the Uneaten Feast a little faster than we would. Perimeter Enforcers, though, are going for a penny a piece, 1 cent. We play 4 of them. It's a shame that this card is that inexpensive, because it actually does put a lot of work in. One of the new additions is 10th District Hero for 1 and a white, creature human for a 2/3. It's a basic 2/3 unless we pay 1 and a white and collect evidence 2. Collect evidence is to collect evidence, exile cards from total mana value 2 or greater from our graveyard to collect evidence 2. So if it's collect evidence X, we exile cards with total mana value X or greater from our graveyard. So if it's collect evidence 2, 4, 6, we have to exile from our graveyard cards with the mana value equal to or greater than that evidence number. When we do collect evidence 2, 10th District Hero becomes a human detective with base power and toughness 4/4 and gains vigilance, which means it doesn't tap to attack. And then if we pay 2 and a 1 and collect evidence 4, so in total to get it fully powered up, it's going to take a few turns and some evidence. If 10th District Hero is a detective, it becomes a legendary creature named Mileva the Stalwart. It has base power and toughness 5/5, and it gains other creatures you control have indestructible. Effects that say destroy don't destroy a permanent with indestructible, and if it's a creature, it can't be destroyed by damage. So 10th District Hero is a late addition. I was shocked that this card is 15 cents a piece, and we do tend to put a fair amount of cards in our graveyard. So we can feed the collect evidence a little easier than you may think. We play 4 copies of the Deuce for 1 and a blue. It's an instant. Draw a card, investigate. We get to make a clue, draw a card as well. And Deuces are 15 cents a piece. We play 4 of them because we have to. We need card draw in other ways than some of our creatures do. We play 4 copies of Reasonable Doubt for 1 and a blue instant. Target counter spell unless its controller pays 2. Suspect up to 1 target creature. A suspected creature has menace and can't block. We're mainly choosing our creatures, although because it says 1 target creature, we can choose our opponent's creatures as well. So if they only have 1 blocker on the board and we counter the spell, we can make their creature not be able to block and get in for some free damage. Counter spells are pricey, and we have to, once again, be inventive with our counter spells because Reasonable Doubts are 2 cents a piece. Another new addition to the deck is Wojek Investigator for 2 and a white. Oh yeah, also 2 and a white for a 2/4 flying vigilance angel detective. At the beginning of your upkeep, investigate once for each opponent who has more cards in hand than you. It's a little more of a purpose there, because sometimes, we don't draw our clue spells and we don't draw our deduces, and our opponents do have more cards in hand than we do because we haven't been able to refill our hand. So Wojek Investigator does its best to do that. It's also a good body. It's a 2/4. It's got a big butt, meaning that it's not 3 or less damage. It can block well. And also Wojek Investigators are 50 cents a piece. So we're playing 2 of them because flying evasion is really good. One of the low-key best cards in this deck that I've created, Projector Inspector for 2 and a blue for a 3/2 human detective creature. When Projector Inspector or another detective enters the battlefield under our control, or whenever a detective we control is turned face up, we may draw a card. If you do, discard a card. This is our card draw engine, if you will, because we play a lot of detectives in this deck, just like we play a lot of rats in the other deck. And we play 24 detectives. Out of the 26 creatures we play, 24 of them are detectives. So Projector Inspector hits on everything, every creature that we play. And Projector Inspector is a penny a piece. And then a card that helps, and this is a newer edition. We added one more. I used to play 3, but now with a little bit of play that we had to do some weird cuts. And Private Eye went from 3 copies to now 4 copies. Private Eye for 1 white and a blue for a homunculus detective creature 3/3. Other detectives we control get +1/+1. That's just every creature we control now is more powerful and has a bigger butt than it did before. And whenever we draw our second card each turn, target detective can't be blocked this turn. That second line, so many people miss it. Because I've seen so many games where they're like, why can't I block this creature? Well, I drew my second card because I cracked a clue and I made a lot of them and it's not blockable. So good luck with that. Private Eyes are 4 cents a piece. And honestly, it is one of the cards next to Projector Inspector that hold the deck together. We used to play 1. Now we play 2 Xtreme Agency Chiefs. Yeah, Private Eyes are 4 cents a piece as well. I did say that. Xtreme Agency Chiefs for 1, 2 white and 2 blue for a legendary creature Archon Detective. It's a 5/5 flyer. When it enters the battlefield, investigate twice. 1 and sack an artifact. Xtreme gains your choice of Vigilance, Lifelink, or Hexproof until end of turn. This generally does not come down on turn 5. This will be a turn 6 play because we want to keep an artifact, the clues that it makes, up so we can give it hexproof in case there's a kill spell that's going to hit Xtreme. We will immediately sack an artifact and give it hexproof. So basically the spell fizzes. It flies, can't be blocked by except creatures with flying or reach. It makes 2 clues. It can get hexproof. Player or permanent with hexproof can't be the target of spells or abilities our opponents control. We can give it lifelink as well, which helps. In games that we're way behind, we come back really quick because of Xtreme. Damage dealt by a creature, planeswalker, or spell with lifelink also causes its controller to gain that much life. And finally, we can also give it vigilance because it doesn't cause a creature to tap or attack. So imagine just having, at one go, if you're brave, I wouldn't, give it vigilance, lifelink, and hexproof on its first attack. Xtremes are 25 cents a piece now. And we play 2 of them. It's pretty much our game ender when we get it. We're trying to draw into Xtreme and make sure that our turn 6 and 7s, he can be protected with all the clues that we make. We play 10 planes, 10 islands, and once again, one of the weird upgrades I made, this was Public Thoroughfare, but I've fallen out of Public Thoroughfare in 2-color decks. Basically, when it comes in, we tap an artifact or a land that we control or sacrifice it, and it can tap for 1 mana of any color. It comes into play tapped. I thought it'd be good in 2-color decks. I was wrong. It's good in 3-color and more decks, but only as a 2 or 3 of. But Idyllic Beachfront is an island plains. It comes into play tapped, and we can tap it for blue or white. Once again, the islands, the dual color lands in white and blue, Azorius, in standard right now, they are all too expensive to put in this deck with the budget. So I had to get a little bit creative, and hopefully we get the Idyllic Beachfront on turn 1. Because it will cost us a turn 1 play, but I'd rather have perfect mana sometimes on turn 1 than having 2 planes and not even being able to cast any of our blue spells. But the Idyllic Beachfronts are 20 cents a piece. So now we're going to go into our sideboard. And we play 2 copies of Disdainful Stroke, which 10 cents a piece for 1 and a blue instant counter target spell with mana value 4 or greater. We need to counter their big spells. And Disdainful Stroke does a great job. We can't play No More Lies because it is $1.30 something for the card. And that would basically mean we could put it in the deck, but we're getting rid of Wojek Investigators and Case of the Uneaten Feasts and Xtremes just to put in 3 counter spells. I don't think it's a good trade-off with what we want to do. Then we play 2 Eliminate the Impossibles. For 1 and a blue, it's instant. investigate, so we make a clue, and creatures our opponent controls gets -2, -0 until end of turn. If any of them are suspected, they're no longer suspected. So we can take the suspected off of them. So we can, they don't have menace and they can't block anymore. Mainly, this is meant for decks that just want to swarm us. And I'd rather make a clue and just make our opponents attack nothing. Because, if you're attacking with 10 1/1s and I cast and eliminate the possible, you're attacking now for 0 damage. And now you're untapped and you're looking at a really bad turn on my next turn. We play 2 copies of Eliminate the Possible, and there's a penny apiece. We do play 3 copies of Makeshift Binding. When it enters the battlefield, exile target creature and opponent controls. Until Makeshift Binding leaves the battlefield, we gain 2 life. So this is a way to get rid of their key creatures in the deck. Like any of the big butts, anything that is really wrecking us, we can just Makeshift Binding it for a bit, hope it stays exiled, and then we also gain 2 life. And Makeshift Bindings are 1 penny a piece. We play 4 copies of Angelic Intervention. For 1 and a white for an instant, target creature or planeswalker we control gains protection from colorless or from the color of our choice until end of turn. If it's a creature, put a +1/+1 counter on it. So we are basically going to pump a creature up that we control, and we give it protection from a color. What does that mean? A player or permanent with protection from a color can't be blocked, targeted, dealt damage, enchanted, or equipped by anything of that color. So what if our opponent is trying to kill one of our creatures with like a murder or a cut down, we could just Angelic Intervention it, give it protection from black, and make it a little bit bigger. And once again, it's one of those weird things where we have to kind of play around with our budget here. And Angelic Interventions are 10 cents a piece. I know there's a 1-drop Surge of Protection. All of our creatures gain protection from red and black, and we prevent all combat damage. That's $1.50 common. So I wanted it in the sideboard, but when I saw the price, I was like, no more. We cannot play Destroy Evil. It is also a $1.25 card. Instead, we get to play Valorous Stance, which almost does the same thing. Choose 1. Target creature gains indestructible till end of turn, or destroy target creature with toughness 4 or greater. Some of the biggest hitters in this standard format have toughness 4 or greater, and Valorous Stance can just destroy them. And also at the very great price of 10 cents a piece, and we play 3 of them. Actually, we play 4 Makeshift Bindings. Yeah, so that is our sideboard. Remember, these 75 card decks have the 60 card main, 15 card sideboard for under $10. And this deck right now is about $8. I don't have the exact number because I changed it like 2 hours ago. Yes, $7.88 is the deck at the moment. And there's enough playroom in there if you wanted to go brazen and put 2 Ezrams in there, or 2 more Idyllic Beachfronts, and get rid of a Mistway Spy or 2, maybe a Perimeter Enforcer just to get 2 more Ezrams in there. You can. The budget within there, you do have some creativity. Plus, this is probably the most focused deck I've made because it wants to make clues. It wants to pump our team up with +1/+1 counters. It wants to make detectives, and it also wants to get Ezram on the board as our finisher. And we are about to see what this deck can do. Just a good fun time in Standard. And that's what these $10 deck techs are supposed to be. It's supposed to be an introductory to Standard with a focused deck that actually has a game plan instead of just throwing $10 into things. Sorry, the dog is behind me whining because he's not allowed out of the room. So we're going to get a Novice Inspector on turn 1. Countering. I think we do this. I think we Case of the Pilfered Proof and see what they do. All right, is it Invasion of Kaladesh? So now we can do one of 2 things. We can Case of the Uneaten Feast into Perimeter Enforcer or 10th District. I think we Case, and then we Perimeter Enforcer. Gets a +1/+1, and we gain 1 life. And we probably get a free attack with Novice Inspector. Yep, because they were not going to block the 1/1. Franco. No blocks. So Krenko has good blocks. We don't have any collect evidence yet. I think we got to play this face down. And then I think we just got to attack for 2. See what they bring. Because what does Invasion of Caldish do when it's flipped? Oh, it's just a crew. Yeah, no blocks. Because Krenko hasn't done Krenko things yet. Krenko, Baron of Tin Street. Sack an artifact, put a +1/+1 counter on each goblin we control. I think we're just going to attack with these 2. Then we're going to turn this face up. And then we hit for 2. We draw. We get to investigate twice. I think we do this. And then I think we're good. We gained 5 or more life. It is solved. Oh no, we control 3 or more detectives. We almost gained 5 or more life. Reveal the top 5 cards and separate them. An opponent chooses one, put one in your hand, create a 0/0. Okay. Intrude the mind. They're going to put the top 5 cards of our library in 2 separate piles. I pick one, put that pile into your hand and the other into their graveyard. All right. Land, Krenko. I'd rather have the land and the Krenko in hand. They may just stop. So they crewed and did it wrong. If they attack with the 3/4, I'm going to let it in. If they attack with Krenko, I'll let it in. But that is a complicated maneuver. I can see why. Because you have to like get timing right, and arena timing is different than in paper timing. But I will crack a clue to draw a card. They don't have any way to do... Oh, it was a plains. The Novice Inspector can't collect evidence yet. I think we just wind up going for a big old attack here. Yeah, I think we just do this. Then we get to attack en masse, gain a bunch of life. You know what? We'll play that as well. And then now we solve the case of the Uneaten Feast. So we can sack it, the cast cards from our graveyard to the end of turn. We do have one or more tokens being made. You got to be careful with Crank. Okay, we won that. I just realized I'm going to have to edit this person's name. So they're on a is it game plan. Do I just put 3 makeshift bindings in? And then we'll get rid of the case of the Uneaten Feasts. Pilfered Proof was too good for us on that one. I'll get rid of a projector. We'll dump a projector inspector and a deduce. And that's our 60 that we're going to bring into the second game. Detectives, it's my favorite deck, budget-wise, that I've made. Especially with the upgrades I was able to do, because the first iteration only had one Ezram, no 10th Street, no 10th District Detective, no Wojak Investigators, because at the time they were still like $1.50, $2 and whatnot. But now in the month since Markov Manor have come out, Markov at Karlov Manor has come out, the adjusting has happened on the prices. Yeah, we're definitely going to have to edit this dude's name. This person's name. All right, that's a little bit better of a keep. I think we... Ooh, this is tough. This is toughy. I think we get rid of the deduce because Wojak Investigator can actually start making us some clues. And the rare Mistway Spy being played turn 1. Connect the dots. I'm going to do this. I think we'll just play another Mistway Spy 2. Face up. They have a Krenko. They're going to attack. Exile. Not going to block. I think we just Private Eye. Private Eye and we are off to the races. Private Eye watching you. We off to the races. Detective Satchel. I like it. They investigate twice. I like it. They're going to attack with the Krenko, maybe? Now, we can... I don't think it's worth it. I think dealing the amount of damage that we're about to deal is a little bit better. And then we can just Wojak Investigator. Now they're up to 8 and they need a solution now. Because we got 3 in the air. No, we actually have 7 in the air. So if we get another Private Eye on the field, it's game over. Opponent is deep in the tank. Folks, remember, this is a $10 deck. It's like a $9 deck, too. So they're spinning the wheel with the connected dots. They just played a scene of the crime. They're going to make a red, make a Gobbo, create a Thopter that flies. We do not get to draw. But you know what? We're going to protect Inspector. We're going to draw and discard. No, you know what? I'm going to discard the Xtreme. And then Inspector can't be blocked. I mean, Investigator can't be blocked. We're going to decline. And then we're going to attack. They have to block one of the 2/2s. Unless they go down to 1, which is brazen. A Wojak Investigator can't be blocked, because remember what I said about the second line of Private Eye. So they go down to 1. I appreciate the full move, Cotton. Do you think it'll work? Bold move there, Cotton. Intrude the Mind. They tapped out? Yeah, they're tapped out. They're tapped out with a clue. Choose that one. Because they can sacrifice the artifact to make a red for the shock. Now they have 2 flyers, but they have to figure out how to get rid of another. Actually, no. We could just draw a second card. But you know what? I think we do this correct. I think we just do it like that. Then, ooh. But we will Private Eye to add a little bit more anarchy to the mix. Get rid of the makeshift binding. I'll tell you why. Yep, there we go. We won. So I ditched the makeshift binding to draw another card. To get a land to draw another card. Not for this turn, which is what I thought I was going to do, but I already drew another one. But for next turn, in case I survive the crackback, which I think I would have. But, you know, they forgot about Private Eye. Remember, that second sentence of Private Eye, whenever you draw your second card each turn, target detective can't be blocked. I had 2 of them on the field, so it was going to be Wojak Investigator and Mistway Spy. GG's. Good games. Good games. Too bad I had to block your name. Wizards, you may want to do something about some of these names that pop up on Arena. It's starting to get to be a little bit of a problem. That was the third deck that we went through. So now for the wrap up. As you saw on 2 of the 3 games, we ran into the Domain Zoo deck, which is the 5-color Domain deck playing Ley Lines of Gilpack and just doing Domain things. It's why I think it's the best, most fun deck, even though everybody is playing it. It's just so interactive and it does so many cool things. And you could just do so many different things within that build as well. I have a couple Leyline of the Guildpack decks that do a couple different things that either play Domain or mono red Guildpack, which is very funny, with 4 copies of Gaia Mites and just a bunch of red cards and 4 ley lines. It is so funny. Just the fact that this card is versatile, and I was calling for its ban. Still, I'm calling for its ban. But you can see just how diverse these decks are, how somewhat diverse the meta is. It's not really a good... the opponents that we had, 2 of the 3 were playing Domain. The other one was actually playing some really cool stuff. But you can see that these decks all had punching power. Even when they were losing, they could still have a chance to win. You're not going to win a Pro Tour with these things. You're not going to win a major event. You may steal a Friday Night Magic event. You may steal a standard event. But as long as you're getting into the game and trying to see how much fun these decks can be and how fun the format of standard is, I'd say $10 is a steal. As I said before, that's 2 packs of cards that these are value. You could get you could spend the same amount for 2 packs of cards, 1/4 of a draft almost, or a third of a collector's booster, or 1/4 of a commander precon. I'd say $10 to get into a standard event for a standard deck just to test the waters a little bit is more than accurate. My name's Dom Douglas. Thank you for watching on XWW's Wrestling. Don't forget to check out XtremeTVOnline.com. It's $4.99 a month. The first 5 days are free. And may your top deck always be mythic.